Welcome back to Florida Realtors Live. I'm your host, Tracy Velt. I'm a contributing editor with Florida Realtor Magazine and also managing editor with HousingWire and host of the Real Trending podcast. On the stage with me today, I have Teresa Kinney and Dionna Hall. They are co-CEOs of MIAMI Realtors plus Our World and the Beaches MLS. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, so Teresa, I'll start with you. You've both led organizations through one of the largest and fastest Realtor Association and MLS mergers in the country. So what was the biggest leadership lesson that you've learned through all of this?
Well, the biggest leadership lesson I learned actually back in 2010, and we used the same concept this time, and that is don't delay.
Yeah.
Don't drag it out. And you decide what you need to decide to make the merger happen, and then you make those decisions, you get it merged, and then once the merger is complete, then together you're on the same side, everybody is working toward the same goal, and it's so much easier to get all of the other decisions made. And so the first question you have to ask is this what's best for the members? And if it is, then quite frankly, everything else should just fall into place.
Yeah, absolutely. Dionna, your leadership lesson.
I think it's amazing what you can get accomplished when you're coming to the table and well prepared to communicate and be transparent. Teresa and I, we really had never worked side by side together the way that we came together with this merger. And it really is, I think, a lesson in when you are coming to the table committed to achieving a goal, you really can move forward and very quickly, as Teresa just mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's a lesson for brokerages who are merging as well. I mean, I think this is a really good example of how a merger can be done really well and really fast and serve the members in the way that you need to as well. And so, Dionna, you've said that the industry's greatest strength is providing a complete, trusted set of property data. I would agree with you. So why is that becoming more, not less important in the AI era?
Well, the MLS is really the single source of truth. It's the most complete, accurate database. And no matter what the product or the service is, including AI, it has to have a source of truth really to be built upon, or it's not really meaningful, or it's not going to mean anything. And so the MLS, being that single source of truth, really is absolutely the most important thing that could be there in order for this technology and AI to continue to build upon, or it won't mean much in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And Teresa, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it actually is probably the most important thing to our members.
Yep.
And so we have had, our markets are contiguous, and in some cases, such as Broward, it was totally interlapping, all of it. Major companies were part Dionna's association and part of them in mine, and the same with MLSs. And so the brokers are thrilled that they don't have to try and figure out which MLS or association the agent belongs to help them and answer questions. But agents and companies actually were having to pay to join both associations so that they could have all of the data in the marketplace. And that's why the data was one of the most important things that we could provide for them right away. And so we saved them from additional memberships and from having to put feeds together and worry about duplications and everything else. So and that happened very quickly.
It did. And one of the reasons why we knew that having a single data set was most important to our members, it was important that we had a really big tangible win for our brokers and our members from the very beginning of the merger. So it's something that we had both been asked when we were separate associations and MLSs, and so we knew that this was really an opportunity for us to bring that to them from the very beginning.
Yeah, and as you look at once you did come together, what do you think you did that really, kind of worked really well? Like if you had advice to offer others who are considering this, whether it's really a brokerage merging or, another association, what advice would you give them and what really worked well for you? And Dionna, we'll start with you.
Well, interestingly, it was trust.
Okay.
Teresa leaned across from me at the table. The story goes is really we had not really had too many conversations face to face. We sat down with our presidents for a 4-hour meeting and really hashed out the main points, deal points that we needed to conduct this merger. But Teresa leaned over and said, this is about trust, and we trust each other from here on out. And it really was a trust fall for both of us to be able to. We have organizations that had a lot of things going on. We had to continue to have those things going on from the association level, the MLS level. And then we knew that as soon as we merged, everybody was going to want to see this on steroids and so powerful, not to mention all the professionals and the leadership. So, at the beginning, really, one person can't do it. And so we did have to trust that all of us were working together in the best interest to achieve all these multiple goals. And it's really worked wonderfully.
Yeah, and Teresa, you're no stranger to kind of innovation as it comes to associations. So other than trust, what was brought to the table that really stood out to you that might have been different from other mergers or that you've done in the past?
Well, I think in terms of process, one of the first things that happened is after our chairman of the board and their president got together, the first thing they said is, okay, now we've got to get Dionna and Teresa together. Yeah. And from the time they scheduled that meeting, we reached out to each other and we started working on what are the things we can agree on going into the meeting. Mm-hmm. And so we already had a lot of that prepped before we ever went into this meeting, which was really great. But the other thing is when you say, what do we focus on with regard to the merger? The members want it all and they want it now. Mm-hmm. And so what we want to do is be able to start with the biggest thing that we could give them, which is the combined data, which was amazing. But then the other thing is our associations have a lot of amazing services. Some are the same, but some are unique. And even on some of them that are the same, we didn't necessarily have all of the data in each of those services. And of course, for the ones that were unique, we only had half of the data in each one. And so that was our next highest priority is which service did their members want of ours that they didn't have. And our members wanted all of the data in that service, and it was Agent 3000. So we rolled that out very quickly, and the company was beyond thrilled. Had been wanting to provide it to all of the members for a long time.
We've been secretly wanting it, obviously.
Yeah.
So basically what we did is Dionna came up with this great idea, and that is to do a weekly merger benefits update. And so one of her execs identifies what the service or benefit is going to be, and then tells them what it is, how you find it, what you get it, where you get it, what you do with it, all of that. And if we have training classes on it, she'll go ahead and put that in there. The other thing that's beautiful is Dionna said, when we send that out, let's include the previous announcements at the bottom. So if I didn't see one of them, but I really like this one, I can look at what the other announcements were. Yeah. And so we have a growing list of services that we already have that are going to go into that schedule to be announced. And so even if Miami members have it, they may not have had all of the data on it, which makes all the difference in the world. Yeah. And vice versa. So same with the Our World members. And so it's kind of like Christmas, all year long. Yeah. They just they're getting new stuff all the time, which is exciting for us to be able to do.
Yeah, and the communication aspect of it is really important too. I mean, once you have a merger, they want to know what's going on and what's in it for me. By doing that newsletter, that's a great idea. And also, I mean, it sounds so simple the way you talk about it, but you have different rules, technologies, cultures that you're all bringing together. So what advice would you give any organization facing a major merger or consolidation? Obviously, communication is one. And Teresa, we'll start with you. What advice do you have?
I think, again, the most important thing to do is to keep it simple. Yeah. And so the members don't want to know everything there is to know about whatever it is. Yeah. They just want to know what's in it for me. Yeah. And we understand that. And they're busy people, and so we try and give them, the information in snapshot views. And if you want more, you click here. And we also have, I think we have 4 or 5 full-time trainers between the two of us. And so they're busy because they're not only training our members, it's yours, mine, and ours. And so they're not only training everybody, but they're also learning the other products and services so they can train on them as well. So it's amazing. When it comes to putting something more complex together, like separate sets of MLS rules. I'm
Yeah.
going to turn that over to Dionna.
Well, the MLS rules was probably the second biggest merger benefit that our brokers and our agents were looking for. As Teresa said, we are a contiguous marketplace, and our brokers had agents in both associations and MLSs. And so even though we deep data shared, which means that when you pulled up your MLS, you would see those listings side by side, whether they were with Miami or Beach's MLS, there was still not all the information that maybe that listing contained, and also we weren't able to take that data and put it into the products and services. So we have a group that's a task force, 4 from each MLS/association, working together, going through the rules, and as we know, there is a lot of hot topics on the table these days.
Oh, yes.
But I got to tell you, they have been masterful in working through these thoughtfully, and it has been unanimous, them getting through how these rules will look in the future of South Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you could give any realtor kind of in this room a piece of advice about remaining relevant and valuable, basically there's a lot going on. AI, private listing networks, changing consumer expectations. What would that advice be? I'll start with you.
Sure. As with all of us always need to continue to show our value. And it's a major reason why we thought that the merger was so important. Both associations and MLSs brought tremendous value, but we saw that we could do so much more as a combined association and MLS. And so continuing to show your value is something that I think obviously we all need to continue to do besides being a realtor and doing that for your consumer too. But also going into the future, this next generation really loves authentic, real people to work with to help them through their unique situations. And even though we have more information, the more information we have, I think that the more obvious it is that we need a real expert by our side to help guide us through that process, because especially when it comes to buying a home, it's something that maybe we only do a couple times in our life if we're lucky enough. And I think that these future generations know enough to say, I want somebody that's trusted, doing this full time, that knows all the ins and outs while I go forward. So
absolutely.
There is a huge, I think, need for the Realtor members going into the future.
Okay, and Teresa, moving forward, what do you see as your greatest strength in the mergers and that you're working on or that you did? And what do you see the future of your Miami world, Miami Realtors plus our world, and then the Beaches MLS as well?
Yeah, it's beautiful because it's unlimited. So at the same time, we're taking the best of each of our worlds and putting those together and then figuring out where we can go from there. We have very creative executives and teams on staff. And so we had a day and a half long planning conference where we put all of the teams together. And that worked out really well. So now they're more connected than ever, and part of their job is it's like we don't pay you to do a job, we pay you to think and do a job. And so the thinking part of it is for them to listen when the members call or when they're talking to the members and find out what they're saying, what they want, so that we can deliver that to them. And that's the way we do education. We don't have an education committee. Miami hasn't had committees since 2000. And every member can be like their own committee because they contact us and say, do you have a seminar on this? Or do you have training on this? Or do you have a service that does that? And we put it on the list, and magically it starts happening. And so now we have double the resources to be able to do that with. And we have a big planning conference. We just went through 9 nominating committee meetings and coming up with our 9 boards. Actually, we think we have 11 boards. And so we have like 200 volunteer leaders plus all of the professionals, and they will be doing flip chart ideas of what they want to accomplish. And so there is no limit.
Great. Any last thoughts?
And there is no end to what we're going to be providing and how, but it's exciting.
I think one of the really other exciting benefits of the merger is that there is so much that you are concerned with when you're not a large enough organization to be able to do a lot of these big ideas and put together an MLS that's truly valuable to the brokers and something that continue to service them, no matter how they decide to expand their brokerage or stay local. But what we've been able to do with this merger, Teresa kind of referred to our 11 boards. And so we have 9 of them that are local in individual marketplaces. And so with this merger, what we've been able to do is give them a lot more decision making. Because a lot of those, larger issues that we had to worry at play are no longer there. And so we're really looking forward to continuing to let them just really be, these really powerful market centers in this regional association MLS that we've created.
Great. Well, Teresa and Dionna, thanks so much for joining me live on stage. And